this match was ugly. And it was ugly in the sense that it looked like one of them was really trying to beat the other. And then he army crawls into the ring that Cobra is jaw-jacking with the army guy.
And Heenan the whole time is yelling, "We're at war!" He twisted his head like cheap wine.
Now, last week, we said that we were going to rewatch the old WCW pay-per-views, starting with when Nitro started. Wasn't that our criteria?
Yes.
So Nitro started, and it was kind of in the middle of a pay-per-view schedule. So we get Fall Brawl, War Games, 1995.
And this is deemed the first Nitro era pay-per-view.
Even though, I mean, it is, but I consider the Halloween Havoc after this the first Nitro era, because it seemed like they had this scheduled well in advance before the Nitro.
Yeah, but Heenan did say, "Tune in tomorrow on Nitro."
So overall, what did you think of the pay-per-view?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have to hold, like, this was my first one, so I don't know if it was a good or bad pay-per-view.
Okay.
There was parts that I enjoyed. There was parts that was like, what are we doing here? Like the main event. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
By the end of the main event, I was like, okay, now there's a cliffhanger. Now I want to watch the next pay-per-view.
Okay.
So
all right.
there was
Well,
ups and downs.
let's talk about Flyin' Brian Pillman versus Johnny B. Bad, a.k.a. Mark Merrill, a.k.a. Sable's ex-wife, a.k.a. the guy that babysits Brock Lesnar's kids while he takes Sable out on vacation and porks her.
I loves every minute.
Loves every minute of it. So the story is that Johnny B. Bad and Flyin' Brian Pillman, they're tag team partners, and they're put in a match, and the winner gets to face Sting for the U.S. title. I like this match a lot. I thought this match was probably better than anything I've seen this week that wasn't Gunther related. It seemed like an athletic contest as opposed to just them doing a bunch of fucking shit and then pinning him at the end.
Yeah, there's a lot of story. I'm pretty sure Pillman turned heel by the end of that match. That's what I took away from it. He started out because it was a face, and then they were like, "Oh, I can't believe that Johnny B. Bad is the fan favorite."
Mm-hmm.
And then now Pillman's is taking cheap shots throughout the match, and then they're booing him even more, and now he's like turned heel. I don't know.
I just appreciated because they used to do this whenever tag team partners would face each other one-on-one. They would do this thing where they know each other's moves so well. So then they would get into a chain of moves, and then like they'd either do like a double drop kick or like a double clothesline or just something that would indicate that, like, yeah, they both do the same shit.
Yeah, I did like those things where they know each other so well, but then they changed what they did. Flair did it also during the Arn Anderson match.
Well, we'll get to that. That was a good one. What'd you think of Johnny B. Bad's little confetti cannon?
I didn't pay that close attention.
Okay. So the only kink for me with this match was that they both were hitting power moves. And then when the guy's like 2 minutes left, then they started doing like submission holds. So it was like obvious that they were stretching for time. I don't know why you're going to powerbomb somebody and then move into a headlock.
Well, they looked like they were gassed.
Well, that too. I mean, I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. This match was ugly. And it was ugly in the sense that it looked like one of them was really trying to beat the other.
Yeah, it was a good match. Let's just say that. It was a good match. I thought it went maybe a little long.
It was long.
I was like, golly, how long is this match?
Well, they kept doing a whole bunch of shit. And then they did the draw tease, but then Nick Patrick said, "Oh, no, it's going into sudden death."
Yeah.
And then so after hitting each other with not only their finishes, but countless power moves, they both hit a double crossbody that Johnny B. Bad powers through to get the pin.
Yep. And he owns the date with Sting, who was the television champion, I believe.
He was the U.S. title.
No, he was the U.S. champion.
Television champion was Renegade.
Yes. So he owns the match. Probably won't see that because it'll be on TV, and we only are doing the pay-per-views, but that's okay.
Maybe when we get done with the pay-per-views, we'll go through the Nitros. We'll see what happens.
Wow. That's a lot. I did like, though, by the way, Michael Buffer. This is what I was talking about. Like, Michael Buffer, he comes out, he does the entrance. He just did it for the first match and the last match, but he's like, this man, he's no stranger to the title. He is multiple time champion and this, that, and the other. Like, he puts both of them over, so they both felt like a big deal.
Bruce Buffer, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Tony Schiavone, Mean Gene Okerlund, all that shit, man. That was WCW to me. Yeah, I know Mean Gene was in WWF, but he was also in WCW, and he did a fantastic job.
He did.
This match, and you'll probably see a trend, at least pre-Vince Russo years. You'll see a lot of good, great matches, but then the finish just sucks. I think this was one of them. Textbook WCW.
Yeah, they didn't know how to finish it.
Nope. But yeah, that was our first match. And then we get it's so weird to say, we get a Ric Flair backstage segment.
Say that in 2023.
And it's weird seeing Flair without him looking like his face is melting. He has bleach blonde hair as opposed to that yellow stringy shit he has now.
Yeah.
Mean Gene says Flair and Anderson started in Charlotte, and it's only fitting that they come together and fight in Charlotte. Flair says that they shared a bond, best friends through it all. They'd each give each other the shirts off their backs. But tonight, we're not walking outside side by side. We're walking out on opposite ends of the building. So many people in life have the opportunity to stand next to greatness, to be around greatness, much less touch greatness. And tonight, my friend, you're going to face greatness. Mean Gene asks Flair if he's come to hate Arn Anderson. Flair says that he loves him so much, but we're going to have to explain to our boys that there's only one king of the hill. And yeah, Flair and Arn Anderson.
Towards the match, yeah.
So next we get Cobra versus Sergeant Craig Pitbull Pittman.
Oh my God, this match. This damn match.
You know what? If I may, I was thoroughly sports entertained here.
I was too. I was laughing at the whole thing.
So Cobra comes out. He has Morse code for a theme, which I thought was funny and great at the same time. A random army guy just comes out and starts jacking with Cobra. And then Pittman repels from the ceiling like Shawn Michaels. And then Pittman crawls into the... So they have two rings. It's War Games. So you got the two rings side by side. Pittman crawls into the second ring. And then he army crawls into the ring that Cobra is jaw-jacking with the army guy. And then...
and Heenan the whole time is yelling, "We're at war!"
Pittman then garrotes Cobra with his machine gun belt. So he's got the bullet sash thing. He takes it off and then he strangles Cobra with it. And then Pittman proceeds to beat Cobra's ass pretty much throughout the match. They get outside the ring, beats his ass there. And Cobra throws Pittman in the ring post. Then Cobra tries a top rope move, but Pittman sidesteps it. And Pittman ultimately gets an armbar for the win. And then Pittman, at the end of the match, snarls, "That's a good day for the core."
Yeah, he was so over the top.
It was great. I loved it.
I was like, see, this is what you need to be doing. I went into this match, Cobra's coming out. I'm like, why is this on TV? Or why is this on a pay-per-view? I don't even know who he's facing. And then I see the name, Sergeant Pitbull Pittman. It's like, this is going to waste my time. But no, they did the whole him repelling from the ceiling. And army crawling into the ring.
Army crawl, yeah. The army crawl is what did it. That was the best part.
Yeah, I like that part. And then the part where he's like standing behind him and he's like, "I got him." That was sports entertainment.
Yes, it was. Speaking of sports entertainment, we get Paul Orndorff backstage, Mr. Wonderful. And apparently he recently lost to Randy Savage. And we see Orndorff in the dressing room. He's second guessing himself. He's just dealing with the loss really hard. He's throwing shit. I'm not wonderful anymore. I can't call myself Mr. Wonderful. What's wrong with me? Then out of nowhere, Gary Spivey comes out. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gary Spivey is a self-proclaimed spiritual healer and psychic. He has made appearances on radio programs, TV shows, and live casino shows. And he's also conducted personal readings, seminars, workshops, and retreats. So basically, he's just a scam artist. But WCW...
I thought he was a genie.
No, he's a fake psychic. He's like Miss Cleo.
There you go.
So then Gary says he sees great things for Mr. Wonderful. Orndorff then starts to get his confidence back. Then he starts kissing his muscles. Then he kisses himself in the mirror.
And boy, did he.
Yeah. I'm Mr. Wonderful. I'm Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, we were about to have to turn the camera
on. I need a minute alone.
Not to make love to myself.
And he probably did. But yeah, it was great. I like Mr. Wonderful. I don't know about Gary Spivey, but apparently Gary was his mentor for a while. So might have more Gary on the way.
He's giving him his mojo back, apparently.
Yeah. So our next match is Diamond Dallas Page with the Diamond Doll and Max Muscle versus the Renegade with Jimmy Hart for the WCW World Television Championship. And right off the bat, it is weird seeing Diamond Dallas Page in the fucking wrestling tights with the pink. He doesn't have jeans on. He doesn't have the rib tape. His hair is all fucked up. It's early DDP.
Very early.
And the Renegade comes out. DDP headbutts the Renegade, then falls out of the ring, and then walks into the ring post. So we're pretty far away from the self-high five DDP. DDP is a great heel. He's naturally unlikable. He does a lot of dickheadish shit. And yeah, he's great. DDP at one point countered an arm drag into a DDT, which I thought was great. Renegade then gets Page in the middle of the ring. He goes for a top rope move. And instead of jumping on Page, he jumps on Max Muscle, who's outside of the ring just yelling at Jimmy Hart. He's not attacking him. He's not doing anything. They're just arguing.
Who in turn no-sells it.
Who in turn no-sold it, yes. Muscle then grabs Renegade's leg as he's getting back into the ring, and then DDP hits his diamond cutter for the win.
Remember that. He just jumped on him from outside the ring. Yep. And as he's getting back in the ring, the guy who he just jumped on is now grabbing his leg.
Yep. Yes.
Completely no-sell.
And the Diamond Doll is not happy that Diamond Dallas Page won.
Yeah, but we get Heenan happy. Oh, there's going to be a celebration.
Yeah. I like Heenan, man. He talks about, if I was in there, I'd be twisting fingers and breaking arms. I don't know why he's going out in the outside of the ring. You can't win on the outside of the ring. You're just an idiot. It's great shit.
Yeah, he's great. I did write this Renegade. How is that not a direct competitor to the Ultimate Warrior? Like, it seems like they just
with the music and how he came out.
Yeah, his running out.
He even has tassels on his uniform. I mean, it's not on his arms, but he has fucking tassels.
Yeah,
he's got the face paint.
Rip-off. All that was missing was for him to do the Warrior Up thing.
Right.
I'm sure maybe we'll get around to that.
Next up, we have Harlem Heat with Sensational Sherri versus Bunkhouse Buck and Dick Slater with Colonel Robert Parker for the WCW World Tag Team Championship.
It was Dirty Dick Slater.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dirty Dick Slater.
Dirty Dick
Slater. So I was like, what the hell kind of name? Dirty Dick.
Yeah.
And these two guys look. I didn't remember them at all. I remember Colonel Sanders, but I didn't remember these two guys at all.
Bunkhouse Buck, you might remember, he played Jack Swagger's dad on Raw. So Kane, I believe he chokeslammed him a couple times.
Okay. So
that's Bunkhouse Buck. That's probably what the modern fans would remember him from. Dick Slater, I think he was an old school guy. I believe he was with Bill Watts's territory, Mid-South.
Okay. One of those cowboy gimmicks, got the tobacco in his mouth.
Yeah, he's definitely a shit kicker, which is funny because they got the street guys versus the cowboys.
Yeah.
Honestly, I forgot just how awesome Harlem Heat is.
When I heard the music, it brought me
the
joy.
Dun, dun, dun. Everything about them, man. The fucking the tights with the flames, the music, the attitude. They don't have solo cups.
They
don't have fucking solo cups. Yeah, the fucking Street Profits need to fucking take some lessons. Stevie Ray was a badass. Booker T was a badass. Booker T was athletic as all shit.
Yeah. Sherri added to their presentation. She was underrated with how good she was. You know, Shawn Michaels and Harlem Heat.
She was great though. She was like literally cheering on Harlem Heat and giving him pointers. Yeah, she was great. Then Colonel Robert Parker tried to fuck Sherri in the middle of the match for some reason. Slater and Buck isolate Booker from the corner for most of the match. And then Sherri and Parker start making out in the middle of the second ring. and the Nasty Boys come out and cost Slater and Buck the titles.
Good old Nasty Boys. Can't wait to see a match with them.
We were so focused on the Colonel and Sherri necking that they didn't even pay attention to the Nasty Boys coming in.
Yeah.
So post-match, Bunkhouse Buck chastises Parker for chasing pussy instead of being in their corner. Parker says he really wants to fuck Sherri and he runs their outfit, so he'll get them another title match eventually. Mean Gene tells Parker to get a hold of himself. He's got lipstick all over his face. He's wiping sweat off. And then Parker says his dick has never been so hard in his life. Harlem Heat's awesome.
Harlem Heat's awesome. I enjoyed Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, I did too. I was like,
don't get me wrong, I'm one of the best promoters, but
I say I'm one of the best promoters there's ever been.
Yeah. He's like, but I got to have that girl. You can't see it in my eye.
So next up, we have Arn Anderson backstage. Again, so weird to say. Mean Gene plays a video of Flair and Arn Anderson's history. And they mentioned that Flair hasn't been the same since Hogan came to WCW. They had to throw that in there.
Is that a tease for a potential match?
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
So what I gathered is Arn was basically tired of being the muscle for Flair. And Flair didn't really appreciate Arn. Then Arn says, whether or not you love or hate me, my passion is undeniable. Everyone has had a family member that keeps messing up and you just have to grab them by the shoulder and shake them. My stomach's been knots all day because I have to trade fists with somebody I love more than God itself. But it's something I got to do because when I look in the mirror, I only have me to answer to. So I give you my word. Win, lose, or draw, I'm going to give you all I've got as a man and you'll respect me after. Arn Anderson's great.
He is great, but I was thinking, I don't ever remember him getting a solo run. Did he ever get like an actual solo run?
If he did, it was before our time.
Yeah. Oh, I'm saying like in this era.
I don't know.
Like tethered to Ric Flair.
I remember Arn Anderson basically being Ric Flair's enforcer, and then he retired because he couldn't cinch in the DDT anymore.
Okay.
I could be wrong though. I know he didn't have a that substantial of a singles run, at least in the Nitro era.
Yeah. I mean, I do remember him being a singles champion, like way early WCW. When I was a little kid, he was always one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I remember that, but I don't remember if he ever got one in post that.
Yeah, Arn Anderson is just on another level. So that moves us into Arn Anderson versus Ric Flair. I gotta say that the Horseman theme gave me goosebumps.
It is a good theme.
Don't need Agent Orange for that shit. Ric Flair, up to this point, has been the only wrestler to get pyro in his entrance. It's almost like he's a big deal and not just part of a troupe.
Yeah.
Then they show various wrestlers sitting in the stands, anxious to watch the match, which was another great touch. So you had Boss Man, Pillman, Bagwell, Robert Parker. I can't remember the giant. Eddie Guerrero. They were all sitting in the stands, just like students, watching these two legends go at it. And I thought that added so much to this.
Yeah, they built this match like it was a big deal.
I mean, technically, this was the main event.
Yeah, everybody out there watching, they're doing the promos. They keep like playing the packages before, like the opening video package, which was voiced by, what's his name? Jesse Ventura, by the way. No.
Was that Jesse?
Ric Flair was. Ric Flair part was.
Okay.
But yeah, they're just showing like the history of these two guys. So they really did a good job building to what this match was like such a big deal of.
Yeah.
Remember, this is our rewatch. Or this is my first watch. So I didn't follow any of this story. So me not having the knowledge, it really filled the gap in for me.
You got an idea of the Horsemen, though. You know that they were a faction.
Yeah, I had the back knowledge, but I was saying this. They did a good job at filling in the gaps.
Yeah, they sure did.
Like, what? How did we get here?
So Arn starts off pretty hot. They just wrestled the shit out of the beginning of this match. Arn at one point does a drop toe hold to Flair and woos, which I thought was great. One, he did a drop toe hold, and then two, the woo. If you know anything about Arn Anderson, he has about as much personality as a fucking piece of bread. So him wooing is just great. Anderson, he works an arm, and then Flair finally hits a chop. And oh my God, is it a big deal? Anderson, I'll not get tired of saying this. He was great. every move that Ric Flair did to him, you could feel the pain that Arn Anderson was going through. And he just showed it on his face and his body language. Fantastic. At one point, Randy Anderson, the referee, he blocks an Arn Anderson punch, and then Flair hits Anderson in the dick. And then the ref actually started a 10 count when both men were down and not moving, which I can't remember the last time I saw that. In fact, the first match, Nick Patrick stopped Brian Pillman from using fists. You can't use a closed fist in wrestling.
Yep. Well, I don't know. Flair was using closed fists.
Eventually.
But he's the dirtiest player in the game.
Yeah, Flair's also a heel. Anderson goes for his DDT, but then Flair holds onto the ropes. Ric Flair goes for a figure four, and they do a nice spot where Anderson holds Ric Flair's leg just before he ultimately locks it in. That little moment of tension was great. Ric Flair then spits on Anderson while he's in the figure four, and it just pisses him off. And then he reverses the hold. Flair hits a chop on Arn's injured leg, like a football chop. And then he attempts another figure four, and then Arn counters into a small package. And then eventually, for no reason at all, Brian Pillman comes up and distracts Flair. Pillman then punches Flair. Flair punches Pillman, but then Pillman regains his composure and kicks Flair in the back of the head, which causes enough of a distraction for Anderson to hit his DDT for the win. And then Arn Anderson has the referee help him walk out of the ring because he was in the figure four and his legs fucking hurt.
Yeah.
How classic is that?
Is this the start of Flyin Brian going into the Horsemen? Or the Horsemen even a thing right now?
The Horsemen are a thing. It's just Flair and Anderson.
So we're leading to a Flair Pillman match?
You would think so.
Well, we'll see what's going to happen.
Or maybe Arn takes Pillman under his wing or something.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, that was great. And then we have our main event, a War Games match, Dungeon of Doom, which is...
I got you. So we have... I wrote them all down because they were ridiculous. Okay. So we got Zodiac. We got Earthquake, who they called Shark. We got Kamala. We got...
Okay, Kamala, yeah.
Meng, all led by the Taskmaster. The one that was missing was the Giant, which is Paul White. And this is all the Dungeon of Doom.
So Kevin Sullivan had a really bizarre video package before the match. He says a whole bunch of weird shit, and he's laughing in a very phony manner. And we learned that this whole thing started because the Big Show drove a monster truck over the motorcycle the Hulkamaniacs gave Hogan.
Yeah.
So I did notice in this match, it was a multi-person match. If you've seen one, you've pretty much seen them all.
It was chaotic.
Yeah. But what I will say is, like, when they were all wrestling, it wasn't just two people doing their shit while everybody else was just lying somewhere pretending to be hurt.
Resting, sleeping.
Yeah. So that was great. I mean, it was chaos, which I would assume 4 or 8 people fighting in a cage would be chaos. But it was also really hard to watch, especially when they had the camera outside of the cage and all you can see is the cage and barely the wrestlers.
Yeah. And the cage was like just large enough to barely, like, Hogan's head was like maybe a couple inches from the top of the cage.
Yeah. That too. It was a short ass cage.
Yeah.
So Hogan wins the match. He gets a camel clutch on Zodiac. Now, the Zodiac's gimmick is he says yes, no. So yes, no. Yes, no. Don't know why, but that's what he does. Hogan gets him in the camel clutch, so he does the yes, no thing. So then the referee has to do this fucking delay thing to try to figure out if he's saying yes or no. So the ref determines that he did in fact say yes, so Hogan won. After the match, Hogan gets Sullivan alone in the cage, and he beats the living piss out of Sullivan. And eventually the Big Show comes out to take out Hogan. Big Show, he's jumping over the ropes and shit, like Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah. Did you see what he did when he got into the cage? You have the ropes, and he pulls his feet up to his knees and then goes over the front.
Just so unnecessary.
Like, what the hell? Paul White ain't doing that now. And then,
Hogan,
he jumps over the ropes.
There's a match with him and Benoit on Nitro where Giant just starts off with a drop kick, and that's it. That's pretty much the end of the match. So yeah, he was pretty fucking athletic.
And it's good to revisit like how big of a deal he was.
He was a big deal when he started, and then he went to WWE, and he was a big deal for like a week.
Yeah, but like the way they shot him from the ground, they did the Omos angle.
Yeah, yep.
And then he's walking out, giant. They kept saying he's 7'4", but he's doing that, pulling up into the ring like that. To be 7'4" and that athletic,
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That was something special.
So the Big Show finally gets to Hogan, and Hogan tries to fire up on him, but he ultimately fails. and then the Big Show grabs Hulk Hogan's head, and then Hulk Hogan crumbles to his knees, and then the Big Show snaps Hogan's neck.
Heenan said he twisted his head like cheap wine.
Finally, Hogan's team comes out to help Sullivan and Big Show leave, and then the show ends with Bruce Buffer asking for paramedics to come to ringside,
and Heenan laughing hysterically, saying, "Finally!"
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tony Schiavone's like, "Oh, we hate to leave you like this, but we'll keep you updated." And Heenan is just laughing his ass off.
So So what'd you think of the overall pay-per-view? This was your first WCW pay-per-view, right?
Yes, first WCW pay-per-view. It's a little bit all over the place.
Yep.
If I can give it a rating, I don't know what we're going to say. We'll give it 2.5 of whatever rating system it is. But that's because I don't have anything to compare it to yet. It clearly seems that we're headed towards a Giants versus Hogan match, probably at the next pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc.
And
there you go. So if you want to follow along with the retro reviews, Halloween Havoc 1995 is next, and we will talk about that next week.